Hi everybody, welcome to Not Just for Boys. Today we are joined by 4 amazing speakers from the world of construction, and very shortly we'll be hearing a bit more from them. So I can see people are starting to join us, so please come in, make yourselves at home and get settled. We're going to be using the platform today, so if you want to ask any questions, you can raise your hand using the smiley face hand icon at the top of your screen, or if you want to ask any questions but you just want to pop them in the chat function, you can do so using the little speech bubble icon at the top of your screen as well, and we'll keep an eye on the chat as we move through the event today. So thank you everybody for joining us, and for our guest speakers as well. It's wonderful to have you here. I'm Emma Tamplin. I'm a collaboration manager at Chwarae. I always say I have the best job at Chwarae. I manage a number of amazing initiatives to ensure that women and girls can reach their full potential, such as Not Just for Boys. Absolutely love delivering this project. Usually it's delivered face to face, but we've actually moved them online for the time being. And I'm also joined behind the scenes by my wonderful colleague Alexia May as well. She makes sure that all of these events run as smoothly as possible and looks after all the tech. So thank you to Alexia. I know she's on standby if I need any help today, which I really appreciate. We've actually just moved over to delivering these events via Teams, so this is all new for us today. So fingers crossed all goes smoothly. Chwarae, we are the leading gender equality charity here in Wales, and since 1992 we have been working to ensure that women can enter the workplace, develop their skills and build rewarding careers. And at Chwarae, we have a vision of a Wales where every woman and girl is treated equally and is fully able to participate in the economy and in public and political life and live safe from violence and fear. At Chwarae, we offer a number of services that can help support girls, women and businesses across Wales. And we also work closely with decision makers and government in Wales to ensure our country is fair and inclusive for women, and to ensure that they have a platform for their voices to be heard. So welcome to Not Just for Boys initiative. As I mentioned, we've recently moved these online during the pandemic and the lockdowns that we've gone through. And these events provide 1 hour. It's a free 1 hour webinar for girls who are interested in careers in science, technology, engineering and maths. And today we're talking about construction, which is fantastic. So this is a photograph at an event that we ran. It was one of our last live events actually back in 2019. Usually Not Just for Boys would be run in a face-to-face environment in an employer's place of work, where we are able to take participants around that place of work and really give them a flavour of what life is like to work there. During these live events, you get to meet female role models, you get to have a go at the try-trade activities that we have as well, and really get to understand a variety of careers that perhaps you don't really know that exist yet. So we're hoping that very soon we'll be able to return to those face-to-face events, but at the moment we're delivering them online and they're working really, really well. So thank you for joining the online events. As I mentioned, today is all about women in construction. We're delivering this event in partnership with Vinci Construction UK, and we are joined by 4 amazing speakers. So we have Lizzie Featherstone, we also have Krishna Kapoor, we also have Rianne Smith, and we have Laura Hartley as well. There's supposed to be photographs on these slides, by the way, but for some reason they haven't transferred over to Teams, so bear with me. You can see our guest speakers anyway. So I believe Lizzie is going to kick things off today and give us an overview of Vinci Construction UK before we move on to our guest speaker stories. So when you're listening to the guest speaker stories, if you have any questions for our guest speakers, then please either pop your hand up and you can ask the question live, or as I mentioned, you can pop it into the chat function and we can ask those questions at the end then. So I will pass you over to Lizzie now, who I believe is going to take control of the screen. Lizzie, over to you. Fantastic, that's working well. I'll pop myself on mute.
Great, hi. Is that working? Are we all good? Okay, amazing. Hi, welcome, thanks for joining everyone. I'm Lizzie Featherstone, I'm Business Excellence Manager for the Building Division of Vinci Construction UK. I'm going to run you through just a tiny introduction into Vinci, who we are and what we do, and then I'm going to hand over to Krish to talk about her journey so far. Let me just check that these slides are moving. yeah, so we've got, as was just pointed out, we've got Krish, we've got me, we've got Laura, and we've got Rianne, and we're going to be running you through some of the stuff that we do on a daily basis and what the vast amount of options are around construction and construction-based jobs. But just for a bit of a start, so Vinci is actually a massive global company with a global revenue of about 44 billion euros. We are the largest British subsidiary of Vinci, and Vinci overall is a world leader in concessions and construction that operates in 100 countries with over 185,000 employees. In the UK, we've got around 3,500 staff that work for us, so we're pretty big as it goes, but we all here work for that, so the UK part of the company. What do we do? Well, we build stuff. We build hospitals, schools, student accommodation, universities, airports, science labs, you name it, and we build it. So that's pretty much what we do. Just wanted to throw a slide in about the different types of jobs in construction. So construction accounts for about 2.6 million jobs in the UK. And there are over 180 different types of careers within construction. We're going to talk you through 4 different ones today. But yeah, it's a pretty big sector. And between now and 2027, the construction industry will need to grow by around 350,000 people to meet the demand. So it's a great industry to get into. We need people, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we do. Construction people kind of think about building blocks, but actually at the minute quite a lot of our stuff is focused around integrating stuff with digital technology. So we've got a load of cool stuff happening at the minute in construction around drones, VR, augmented reality, sort of being on site wearing cool glasses that you can see, smart technology, all that sort of stuff. So there's lots of stuff going on, and it isn't just around laying bricks. What I'm going to do is pass you over to Krish, who's going to talk you through what she does on a daily basis and her route into it. So I will pass that. Krish, do you want to start sharing?
Hi everyone, just quickly get my Can everyone see that? Or has it gone blank?
Thinking about it.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Just have to maybe move forward a lot. Okay, okay. So my name is Chris McCapaul. I'm an assistant engineer for Vinci Construction. I'm a level 6 degree apprentice in my final year, studying civil and environmental engineering. So my career actually started when I was 16. I just finished my GCSEs and I was in 2 minds about A-levels or doing something else. I actually applied late to my colleges, which meant that I didn't get the A-levels I wanted, so I had to find another alternative. So my sister actually introduced me into apprenticeships. From then, I started looking at apprenticeships that I had interest in. At school, I really enjoyed graphics, and that's where I came across civil engineers, because before then, even I didn't even know what construction was. Now considering it such a broad industry, there's something for everyone. So from then, I just did a couple of online applications, with Vinci being one of them. Having a successful online application, I was then invited to do an assessment centre with the company. Followed by that, I was then asked back to have an interview by the educational provider, and then finally an interview with Vinci, which I was successful in. So how my apprenticeship works is I started off with a level 3 apprenticeship in the construction and built environment, which was equivalent to 2 A-levels. So the format of this was 8-week blocks and 6 months on site. My college was in Leicester, which meant I stayed away from home for 8 weeks at a time, and then 6 months to a local project that was close to me. This lasted for 2 years, and then followed on from that, I did a level 5 higher national diploma, which is the equivalent to 2 years, the first 2 years in university. So this was at the same college, but the format of that was slightly different. It was 4-week blocks and 2 months on site, so that lasted for 2 years. And my current degree apprenticeship is 1-day release with 4 days working at the University of West England in Bristol, which means I just commute down there, which is always handy. So my experience, as I said, starts from 16. So in 2015, I was on Crossrail West, which is a railway project upgrading all the stations from Maidenhead to all the way up to London Paddington. So my job role here consisted of managing subcontractors. Because I was quite young, I was restricted to going out on site just as much, but I was still given the same responsibilities as my other colleagues. So then after that, in 2018, I moved on to an Eastbourne Sports College, which was a sports facility centre, including a swimming pool and 25 different classrooms. From that, I then went to the BIM team, which is a building information modelling design team, which lasted for 6 months. In that, I was creating 3D visualizations for projects, helping to strategically plan them and show the clients what they will look like in the future. From then, I then went on to the M4 Smart Motorway. This was a site assistant job, helping plan out the site logistic works and building the Smart Motorway compound. And then from there, I went on to an East Street Reading, which was student accommodation for the University of Reading. So this was a 6-storey building with 135 student rooms, which had all their own studios. So that was interesting to see. And my current project is a community school, a 3-storey community school and a 6-storey residential block combined together. So the design on this one is quite interesting because the playground is on the roof of the building. So once that comes into visualization, that'll be quite interesting to see how that plays out. So my current roles and responsibilities. So construction as a job is very broad in the aspect when you're, as a civil engineer, you're putting multiple different hats on. There's a skill for everyone, which means that I have to plan, design, review, manage, build and deliver. So what this means is my daily routine is I will get to site, I will do a site coordination meeting with my subcontractors who are currently on site, getting them to logistics with what they're doing, and reviewing the design that the client wants and what needs to be built. I will help review any concerns or issues they may have with the designs, and then I will supervise it being built on site and quality inspect it and make sure it's being built and delivered to the standard that we require. Here's a couple of photos of me in action as well. So my advice to you, anyone who's starting at 16 or 18 or at any stage in your career, don't be scared and embrace the new changes. I know that the construction industry can be intimidating at first, but with experience and with your confidence, you're able to get anywhere in life. And I think that's something that you just have to embrace and be open to taking risks, because you never know, it might be the greatest thing or the greatest opportunity that you've come across. For me personally, I don't regret coming into construction. I think it was the best decision I could have ever made. I can't see myself doing anything else. So it's something that I genuinely enjoyed, which is what I would say to people in my position is do something you enjoy, because you're here most of your time. It's 8 hours of your day, so make sure you actually enjoy it. Follow your passion and make sure you do your research, because although you can make your changes, it's always good to know what you're doing. I'm now going to pass on to my colleague, Vinci, who will talk more on the business side of things. Stop sharing.
Thanks.
Sorry, I just... sorry, 1 second. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Chris. That was really interesting. I'm going to talk you through what I do, and what I do is a bit weird. So I started off on a similar sort of route as, similar job that Chris does. So I started off as a site engineer. So I am actually now a chartered civil engineer. But I'm now business excellence manager for Vinci. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is. But I just wanted to try and explain what civil engineering is quite quickly. Lots of people hear the word civil engineering and look at you quite blankly. But for me, if I can get the slides to work, civil engineering impacts everything that we do. So if you think about what happened since you woke up this morning, hopefully some of you would have got up and brushed your teeth. When you turn the tap on, water comes out of it, and we just expect it to. But where does it come from? How's it getting into your house? How do we know it's the right pressure? When you leave the house in the morning, you will probably get on a bus or a bike or a train or in a car. How do we make sure that all that infrastructure that we use on a daily basis is correct for us and built right? So civil engineers design and help construct the roads, bridges, railways, footpaths, and you name it, anything that you use in your day-to-day life. So we also do things like design and plan the layout of towns, waterways, and anything and everything. Always things that you sort of take for granted, but somebody's got to be there to design and then deliver all of those things. What makes a good engineer for me is good problem solving skills, so always willing to think a little bit outside the box, challenge the thinking, but also you have to work in quite a big team, so teamwork's really important. Chris talked there around coordination meetings and managing subcontractors, so again it's lots about teamwork. Creativity, and as I said before, the ability to think outside the box are key. And the biggest thing for me is always asking questions. Never be happy with the answer, so always ask for a little bit more. That's a little bit about engineering, which is kind of what I used to do. But all of those skills and all of that stuff that I've learned through being a civil engineer has massively helped me in what I do now. Now, what I do now, I'm business excellence manager, but effectively what I do is try and make things better. And that could be anything from delivering a new technology product, getting people to use tablets out on site, process improvements, through to figuring out how we can deliver more back into our communities through some social value stuff. So anything that we do in the business, I look at it and go, okay, how can we do that better? How can we be more efficient? How can we be more effective in what we do? So it's quite broad, it's quite all-encompassing, and on the face of it, doesn't really have much to do with civil engineering, but I use all the skills that I got through being a civil engineer in this job now. How did I get here? I went down the sort of traditional educational route, so I did A-levels and then a master's degree from Durham. I then started on site doing similar to what Chris is doing now, working with subcontractors, helping to plan and manage and monitor their works. I then got chartered from the Institution of Civil Engineers, so that's where the CEng comes from. And then I transitioned and switched into the digital me, which is at the end, focusing a lot around technology and process improvements. And I am a member of the Chartered Quality Institute off the back of that. So quite a change throughout my career, but all of it still based around construction, with all the challenges that we've got. Just wanted to finish with some of my top tips. For me, the most important one is don't be afraid to ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If you're not sure, just ask. People in this industry are so excited to talk to you about it that they'll be more than willing to answer your question. Don't be too worried about where you're going to be in 10 years. Do, as what Chris said, do what you enjoy. And there is so much in the construction industry that you can move into, that do what you want to do now and that you're passionate about. And the last one is avoid the word just. And in most instances, excluding the title for this presentation, because it fits here, the word just can be used as seen as an interesting word. It's just a challenge to myself that I always try and avoid using the word just. So I'm going to pass over to Laura to talk about what she does.
Can everyone see that? Great. I'm Laura Hartle. I'm a design manager for Vinci Construction. I'm also a RIBA chartered architect. I've been in the industry now for over 20 years. I know I don't like it. But I spent the last, I moved into design management 10 years ago. I started at Vinci about 3 months ago, so I'm the newest member of the Vinci Construction family here today. And today was my day of my last day of probation, so I'd be told I'd come in tomorrow, so I'm very happy about that. How did I get here? So my education path, traditional, similar to Lizzie's actually, GCSEs and A-levels at school. But I wasn't destined for construction originally. I was the company set designer for a very well-known youth theatre company in South Wales, and I was destined for a career in set design, in theatre and film. However, my A-levels, on a conversation with a career advisor, I chose the A-levels that I loved, the subjects that I loved. There was no particular route for my career with my subjects. All of them suited my desire to go into set design. But talking to a career advisor, they suggested, have you ever thought about architecture or engineering with the STEM subjects that I was studying? So I thought I'd give it a go and have do some work experience in an architect's office, and I loved it. 25 years ago, there were no computers. It was purely drafting by hand, and just drawing every day was something that I loved as well. So so I went along to some university open days as well, just to get a feel for the courses. I went to Bath University, looked at their engineering course, and they worked very closely with their architecture department, and started chatting with those guys. They also had a link with the university's theatre studies as well. And I realised that, you know, a lot of the universities had links with amateur dramatics and theatre options as well. So I decided to go down the architecture route. The architecture is essentially in 3 parts to become a qualified architect. I went to the Welsh School of Architecture at Cardiff to do my first part, then to the University of West of England in Bristol, the second part, and then qualified directly through the RIBA. I was then a project architect for a number of years before moving into design management. As Lizzie mentioned earlier, my skills were completely transferable, and I was able to move into design management and project management very easy with my skill set. What is architecture? Let's talk about a bit about architecture. Vinci, obviously, we work in the project management of the design of buildings and the construction of buildings, but architecture as well is a fantastic career to move into. And essentially, architecture is the art and science of designing buildings and structures. It's a fantastic building here by Zaha Hadid architect. Zaha, unfortunately, has passed away now, but she was a phenomenal female architect of her time. Architect's qualities listed here. Not only do you need the technical skills, there's also problem solving. You need to be passionate about the skills as well, and your design. And communication is a big one as well. Being able to put forward your thoughts and your designs to your client, convincing them which way you think is the best way to meet their requirements. And listening skills as well. You know, your clients are always right at the end of the day, and you want to make sure that they are a happy customer at the end of the day. My role now as design manager, I essentially lead the design process of the project. I manage the design team through all stages of the project's life cycle, and I make sure there's good communication between the client, the design team, and the wider Vinci construction team as well. I interrogate the client's brief and the tender information that's given to us, and a big part of my role is identifying and managing the project's risks and opportunities, particularly from a commercial and a construction perspective. I ensure the design meets the client's requirements in line with the project's contract, and I also make sure that the design meets all necessary building regulations. I draft and manage the designer's appointments, review and manage the release of the subcontractors' designs, particularly on site as well, and liaise with specialist designers and suppliers. There's always a new technology or a new product on the market, which is always exciting to come across on each project. And primarily then I encourage good communication to ensure strong working relationships. That's always key between from moving from concept design right through the pre-construction period onto site. And then last but not least, I ensure the construction team, the Vinci construction team, have all the information they need to build essentially at the end of the day. Here I've got my favourite projects to date. I've worked on some fantastic projects over the years. This is the Met Office supercomputer facility in Exeter Science Park, completed in 2016. Also Project of the Year winner for Construction News. It's a fantastic project to work on. I was on the project for approximately 3 to 4 years at the end. It's home to one of the 25 most powerful computers in the world. And the supercomputer enables the Met Office to run sophisticated weather models, and just a fantastic project to work on. The architecture was phenomenal, and hence the awards there. Another project I've worked on as well is the Bath School of Art and Design for Bath Spa University, completed in 2019. Recently won the RIBA Southwest Award, a prestigious award, and it was fantastic working with Sir Nicholas Grimshaw and his team of architects on this project. I was on the project for approximately 3 to 4 years as well on this. It was originally designed by Sir Nicholas Grimshaw in 1976 for a furniture company, Herman Miller, the American furniture manufacturer, and it's now a multi-million-pound campus for art and design students. They have flexible studio spaces, workshops, and open cafe and library areas. Again, a fantastic building to work on. The original building was a Grade 2 listed building, and really exciting stuff. And I'm now working on the South East Hub for transforming access to medicines for NHS Wales, another exciting project. I've been very, very fortunate to work on some fantastic projects over the years. This is currently in design. It's a medicines manufacturing facility, and yeah, it's interesting technologies, things I've never learnt before, and it's just really exciting times ahead, especially with regards to medicines and the future of medicines. Top tips. I'm gonna echo Krishma and Lizzie on this, but choose subjects you enjoy. Learning is a big thing. You know, you'll find it so easy to learn if you enjoy the subjects. And I would say STEM skills are completely transferable as well. So the maths and sciences. My university course, my first course, I know that 50% of the guys that were on the course with me, they've now gone into very different careers. But the skill set that we learned during our A levels and during the university courses have been completely transferable, which means that, you know, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not having fun, it's never too late to change your career direction. So that'd be my top tips for you all. I'll pass over now to Rhiannon.
Right. Hopefully I can get this right now. Can everyone see that? Okay. Is it working?
No, it's gone off.
Ah, a bit of IT issues, right? Right. 2 seconds.
Looking good.
Right,
Perfect.
okay.
Perfect.
Right. Right, it's just loading up a second. Apologise about the delay. Right. Right. Does everyone see this okay now? That's fab, right. So my name is Rhianne Smith. I am an assistant quantity surveyor for Vinci Construction, and I'm a 4th year student at the University of South Wales. So just a little bit about my background, about myself. So I've worked with Vinci now for 3 years. So I'm going into my 4th year studying quantity surveying commercial management. And once I'm graduated, I plan to gain my RACS chartership. And I've just turned a new mum, actually, so I have a 14-year-old daughter. So back up my background and my education. So I started off by doing my GCSEs. I moved on to my A levels, and my subjects I chose weren't particularly mathematics and science. I went for more humanity-based subjects, and my plans were to study geography at the University of Exeter. So then how I actually arrived at my career in construction. So I did some work experience with Cardiff Council. So my uncle is a civil engineer there. So he asked me if I'd like to have a little look around the departments and see if there's anything I'd like to enjoy or do. So I did a bit of a placement. I did a week and I moved around all the different departments, and I started doing it with the land surveyors, and that was what actually changed my mind from doing geography into working something more construction based. So after doing a couple of placements, I found myself looking at apprenticeships, and I found one with Vinci for quantity surveying. So I did some research into the actual degree and what quantity surveying is about, and that's what made me apply. So then obviously I was offered an interview with Vinci, so I did that with my regional commercial director, and I got a shortlisted interview, and then I was actually offered the job, which was quite a bit of a shock to me, to be honest. And there was only one position available, so that was quite rewarding. So a bit about my career now. So I do a higher apprenticeship with Vinci Construction. So what that means is I do a day release part-time degree studying over 5 years, and the company sponsors me throughout my degree, so I don't have any loans or debts. So I get paid for working with the time I spent at university, and I started as a trainee and I've worked my way up to an assistant. There's some pictures here of me within the company on our apprentice induction day. So those were some of the other fellows that joined around the same time that I did, doing some similar courses around different sectors of Vinci construction. So the most important thing as well is I think that the work experience in my chosen career. So while studying, I obviously get work experience, and that's really important because I'd be pretty stuck doing my degree otherwise, I think, because you learn so much while doing the job. It's just a little bit then about what inspires me and what influences me to work hard. And so I think the most thing is obviously change in the industry. No day is ever the same, so you're always constantly doing something different. Every project is different. There's never a job that is the same. For I say as well that gaining knowledge, you gain so much through the different jobs. There's so much experience to be gained. Inspiring others as well. It's quite inspirational to talk to other people and tell them what I do, and obviously try and get them to do similar things or help them out in certain ways, and learning, because it's always about learning. So a little bit about my role models and mentors. So I currently work with someone called Gary Smith. He's a senior quantity surveyor for my region. I've worked with him since I started on 2 jobs, so Central Park and Withybush and Glangwilly hospitals. He's been an amazing mentor to me. So he's always taught me the best practice of quantity surveying, which is to be fair. And he's always been really supportive of my education, and he always has been very respectful to me. So he's always treated me as an equal. He doesn't look down on me because obviously I'm below him. I started at a lower level. He's always treated me as an equal and made me feel like my opinion matters. And also he also challenges me educationally and in my work environment. He likes to throw me into the deep end in the best way, but I find I learn better in that environment. He's always really calm and patient with me, and as he says, there's never a stupid question. And then my role model is a woman called Judith Bowden. She is an EMEA Alliance Director, and I find her as a role model because she's really empowering. The fact that she's worked away from the bottom and got herself up to a director position in a company, because you don't see that many women directors out there. And I think that's really empowering, and she kind of inspires me to achieve my goals and kind of be the best person or version of me I can be. So a little bit about my job role. So obviously assistant quantity surveyor. So I work a lot in procurement. I do a lot of change control, a lot of main contract administration, subcontract administration, accounting and reporting, and cost control. So I deal with payments, final accounts and valuations. I put together subcontracts. I remeasure works. I go out on site a lot, and it's really, really, really amazing. So I do a lot of recording. I create bills of quantities. It's good. Right, so on the previous projects I've worked for, so this was Central Park Avonmouth. It was 5 new steel framed industrial units. So I worked here when I first started, and I was on site every day doing the remeasurement, the works, seeing how things changed, seeing how things were built. When I first arrived at the site, there was nothing there, so I practically saw it being built from the ground up. So that was pretty amazing to see. And as I drive past now, when I go into Bristol, I can see it just on the right of the road, and that's really rewarding to see something that I've built myself. Well, not myself, but I've helped have an input into. And then I worked in pre-construction then from 2019 to 2020. These were some of the jobs I worked on. So I basically did the estimating side of things. I helped measure works, put together tenders, helped put together all the bills and stuff, those. So I did a lot of work with pre-con. And then at the moment, I'm working on the fire precaution upgrade works at Glangwilly and Withybush Hospital. So I'm putting together lots of bills, bringing in lots of subcontractors and monitoring the works. So it's really rewarding as well working with the NHS at this time. You can obviously see all the changes and obviously helping the hospital. So a couple of top tips I've got for entering construction is don't rule out construction, because obviously I never really thought about it. I never really thought of a career in construction. I always thought it was there's just jobs like building and stuff like that. I didn't think you can actually do other jobs such as planning, quantity surveying. So have a little look. There's some great articles and websites out there that give you information on what sort of roles you can go into. I'll say have a look for getting experience, because I've found my experience has helped me so much when completing my degree. Because I think without my experience that I've learned on the job, I would struggle going into my degree. It's really, really good to get experience, work experience, an apprenticeship. I look at doing some of that. Also be confident, because obviously it can be quite hard in the industry at times, but confidence is the key, and just never let anyone get you down. Just carry on going forth and stand out. Don't be afraid to make your opinions heard. Stand out and bring whatever good qualities you have forward into the job and enjoy what you do. Right. So pass on to Kate. Oh, 2 seconds. Pass on to Kate. Here's the Q&A. Right. So do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your stories. I found them so fascinating, and to actually hear there's over 180 different types of careers that you can have in construction just totally blew my mind, because as Rian just touched upon, sometimes you just think of construction as just building, bricklaying, building, the things that you see around you, but not seeing all these other fantastic jobs behind closed doors. And I'm so glad you actually showed photographs of the types of buildings that you've been working on as well. That must be so rewarding to see, as you say, when you drive past and you've had a hand in making that happen. So yeah, absolutely wonderful to hear those stories. And would it be okay to share your slides with the audience and with other colleagues as well? Because I think these are really important, particularly the top tips as well, just to give people at home, really some really sound advice on how they can get started. Because I know a few of you, you've all mentioned different routes into construction as well, which I think is really important to highlight. That it's not just one way in. There's other routes into construction that you can think about, like apprenticeships and the academic route and so on, and the experience you can get. and not being afraid to move about and to change things as well. If you don't like something at first, try something else and just really work hard on something that you really enjoy, which is really great advice to share. If anybody at home wants to ask any questions, you can either pop your hand up using the little smiley face icon at the top of your screen with a hand, or pop the question into the chat function and we'll ask your questions for you. I've got some pre-planned questions which I'd love to ask, if that's okay. Just picking your brains a little bit more on your experiences, and I know some of you have touched upon you know, the lack of women in construction, and I could see from some of your photographs as well that perhaps you were, you know, one of few women in your apprenticeship group, or, you know, starting out when you were studying. So just wanted to talk about the barriers that you faced in when you started out in your career in construction, and looking at how we can increase diversity within construction as well. So Krishma, shall I start with you? You're on mute, sorry. It's okay. Hang on, I need to unmute you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so just want to hear, you know, what kind of challenges did you face when you were starting out in construction, and what can we do to attract more diversity into the sector as well?
So when I started coming from a classroom setting to a corporate setting, for me it was quite intimidating and quite scary. But as I started working with my colleagues and with Vinci, I found that the support from the company in making me feel more comfortable and being treated like a colleague was a really great thing, and it kind of just eased me in from that transition from GCSEs to going straight into a job. So another challenge that I did also face, but I managed to quickly get over with the people that I met along the way, was leaving home at 16. So as I said before, my apprenticeship meant that I had to stay away in Leicester in accommodation, which was actually a B&B, so it was very nice, for my college for the 8 weeks I was away. But the friends that I made and the teachers and the support that I had really helped me with being away from home, in a completely new place, in a completely new environment. So I think that was a really beneficial thing for me, and now thinking back on it, it's something that I would do all over again if I could. It was genuinely the most enjoyable experience I could ever have doing an apprenticeship, so I don't regret it. Great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry.
Busy, should we come to you?
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Yeah. So yeah, I think Laura backed me up on this. The construction industry in the last 10 to 15 years since I've been involved in it has massively changed. When I first started, there were very few women in it. Now we're looking a lot better. There's still work to be done, and I think events like this are key to doing it. Explaining what we do, and we're not just we're not just builders. We're professionals in an industry that's massive and exciting. These kind of events are really important. But I think because things have changed, there are more women, and I think the men see that having the women is actually beneficial as well. And people more diverse our workforce, the more different backgrounds we have, the better people challenge stuff, and the better outcomes we have. So I think it has changed, and it is still changing. The number of people that we need in the construction industry over the next 10 to 15 years is huge. So I think the more diverse we can get, the better. And I think events like this are really key to doing that.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more, Lizzie. And hopefully when we can return to a face-to-face environment, we may be able to team up with Vinci again and run a live event and really show girls and women at home what life is like in construction. And it's not just what your mind originally pans to when you think of the word construction. So I think that would be a really important thing to do, and we just want to broaden people's horizons and shine a light on these amazing careers that I wouldn't even have heard of any of these careers unless I was running this event. So if I feel that way, I'm sure there's like thousands of other people that feel exactly the same. Laura, how about you? Any obstacles that you faced during your career in construction, and what can we do about diversity in the sector?
Well, yes, just following on from Lizzie's comment there. I mean, in 20 years, it's moved on so much, and the support now for females in construction is so much more than it was 20 years, not even 10 years ago. I mean, the amount of times I got mistaken for the tea lady rather than the project architect, I've just lost count. But I mean, I think with regards to women, knowing that there are so much more with regards to roles in construction, and making that aware to women as well, that it's not just being on site. There's the pre-construction side of the projects, and there's marketing and graphics departments and HR as well in construction. So it's huge disciplines. It's not just the engineering. I think, but it's, once the girls realise that there are those jobs out there. I think probably 10, 20 years ago, I don't think people realised, how many roles there were in construction, and now we are making that visible to women and to the girls, that we'll start seeing a lot more females coming into the industry. So I think, as Lizzie said, we'll be seeing a huge change over the next 5 to 10 years once we make that visible. And obviously, us being able to show that, it's an exciting career, and we're all enjoying it, and I'm still here 20 years later in it. So I'm not gone into film and theatre design.
Absolutely, you're all fantastic female role models for the sector, so that's amazing. And Rhian, I'll come to you next. What about you? Any sort of obstacles along your path, and how did you overcome them?
I haven't really had many obstacles, to be honest. Since coming into construction, I've always been treated equally and with respect. I think that's because, as everyone said, it's changed so much over the years. I've always been treated as an equal. I've never really been pushed aside or looked at as a tea girl or anything like that. Everyone's kind of been very respectful to me and treated me as a colleague. And any issues I have had have always been quashed out quite quickly and dealt with very professionally by senior members of staff. But with the actual more equality side of it, I think raising awareness is the most focused way to go, sort of thing. Making workshops for younger women to actually understand what careers you can go into, bringing people in for work experience onto site visit days, going to the colleges. I think that's probably the best way to raise awareness.
Absolutely, and I think in the last 18 months, where there hasn't been that much emphasis on careers for young people because of obviously the pandemic and lockdowns and young girls being out of school, I think these events are so important to just keep shining the light on these careers and letting teachers and other influences that girls have about these careers, because if you don't know they exist, how can they promote them? So with these types of Not Just for Boys events, we want teachers to be involved, we want parents, guardians, everybody to be involved. Anybody that has an influence over a girl's life should be involved and hear about these amazing careers. So thank you all for sharing your stories. So I want to get into the fun part of your career now, and I know some of you have touched upon some of your most rewarding moments and some of the projects that you've worked on. So just want to talk about what have you been most proud about in your career to date. Krishma, shall I come to you first?
So with my career, I think the most thing that I've achieved is all the great projects that I've worked on, and I'd like to echo what Rhian said in her presentation. Being able to drive past a location and say that I have had input from the ground up to see that building go up, it's like something that will stick with you for life. It's a legacy that you put in there, and it's a story that you can tell, friends, family, future interested parties. But for me personally, I also did the Duke of Edinburgh Gold with Vinci, and that was a really great experience for me, because not only did I get to do that with Vinci, but it was a great test for both physical and mental experience. So for me, that was great. And also the reward afterwards, going to the Buckingham Palace and receiving that award was amazing as well. So really enjoyed that.
Fantastic. Amazing. Lizzie, what about you? Proudest moment to date?
So I think the project I was most proud of was Blackfriars Bridge redevelopment, where we effectively knocked down an existing railway bridge whilst keeping the trains running, and then built a new station across the Thames. That was all sort of solar panelled and really important to London. The first station that spanned the river in like over 150 years. If you ask my friends, they'll tell you it was that one because I bore them about it to tears. Every time we walk near it in London, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're going to tell us more about this story about how you built this bridge." Oh, here we go again. But that's exactly what Christian and Rhea were saying, is that it's seeing something come out of the ground that you've had an impact in. You're not just sitting behind a screen all day, every day. You're actually having a direct impact on the people. From a business perspective, the last 18 months, I was really proud to be working for Vinci when we did some of the surge hospitals up in the northwest, helping with the pandemic, being part of a company that jumped to it and said, yeah, we can help you build that, turning around surge units in really little amount of time, people working 24/7 to get that over the line. That was really quite a proud moment for me from a company perspective. And from a personal perspective, getting chartered, it's always nice to say that you're a chartered engineer. You could kind of, you're the go-to person if anyone's got a passport to sign. That's always fun. But yeah, so those three would probably be my sort of career tops.
These are all amazing achievements, by the way. You've all earned your right to shout about these as many times as you want. So Lizzie, keep telling them about the bridge. Laura, should we come to you? What are you most proud of in your career to date?
Well, same as Lizzie, my chartership is definitely at the top there. 10 years of hard work, and yeah, just a huge relief at the end of it to say I did it, and I'm quite proud that I made it through the 3 parts of architecture. But secondly, changing from architecture to design management, I'm so proud of myself for having the courage to take that career change. 10 years ago, sort of putting myself into the gaggle of male-dominated construction at the time, and having the confidence and the braveness to pull through and stand up for myself and still be here today and at the top of my game. So that's those are sort of top two career moments for me.
Love it. That's amazing, Laura. I'm gonna ask you all shortly about your future plans. I'll come back to you on that. Rhiann, how about you? Proudest moment to date?
So my proudest moment to date is probably working on the projects and driving past them and obviously seeing them from ground to finish, but also at the same time working on the hospital jobs I am now with Bush and Glangwili, and kind of getting the respect from my colleagues for the input I've had on them, because they have been quite difficult jobs. We've never really done anything like this in our region. So my mentor Gary pulled me aside and he thanked me for all the hard work I've put in. So that's my career side. That was a massive thing for me, is to feel rewarded and almost quite respected. And obviously it really boosted my confidence being recognised as an important member of the team. But I'd probably say on a more personal side, obviously I had my daughter in the midst of the pandemic, and obviously then having my baby and then coming back into work full-time 6 months later, and also doing it whilst juggling my degree. So doing everything at once, that's been difficult but really rewarding at the same time. So I'm quite proud that I've managed to carry on going forth and not have to stop.
That's amazing. That sounds like a lot of juggling to do, and you clearly love a challenge. That's fantastic. I've got a role model for your daughter as well, so yeah, you should be very proud of that. That's fantastic. So I've heard all about your amazing achievements. There's so many. So what are the plans for the future? Krishma, shall I come to you? Future goals?
Yeah, so for the future, so I graduate next year, and then I have a 6-month period to gain my IN status under ICE. So hopefully that will take me to the line of being just before chartered engineer, and then future steps will be to get chartered. I think career-wise, one of my personal dreams is to be able to work abroad and see where that takes me with civil engineering. And then hopefully from that, one day become a project manager that can take me to the top and see where that takes me.
Love it. That's going to keep you busy. It sounds amazing, and please keep us updated on your progress, because yeah, I'd love to follow your stories. Lizzie, shall we come to you? What's your future plans? I know, was it you that mentioned in your talk not to think about what you're going to do in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Have you thought about what you're going to do in the next 10 years?
Well, I just always reflect on what I've done in the last 10 years and how much that's changed. So I'm just excited to keep learning, keep finding out new stuff. I think the construction industry is in an incredibly interesting place, in particular with the adoption of digital technology, where that's going to take us. It's going to be really exciting, and there's so much cool stuff that's coming out, from robots that can build block work through to drones that can measure whether your building's in the right place. I'm really excited about that, so I'm really excited to get more involved in that kind of stuff, and just see where it all goes, and welcome in more women into the industry. I'm really passionate about it, so yeah, those would be my kind of two short-term goals. Long-term goal, I'm not sure.
Watch this space, definitely. Laura, you've already had an insane career already. What's left for you to do?
Well, same as Lizzie, I work project by project. I don't like to think too far ahead, but I've just joined Vinci 3 months in, just started this new project for NHS Wales, this ridiculously exciting project. It's something, healthcare is new to my portfolio, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this project through to site. Hopefully we're looking to start on site this time next year, and I think it's about two years on site, so I think the next 3 years is concentrating on that and sort of honing my skills in healthcare. And yeah, who knows what the future holds. I've got a 2-year-old who's keeping me on my toes at the moment, but yeah, 2-year-old working and COVID is so yeah, no, looking forward to the future at Vinci.
Amazing. Sounds like there's lots of exciting things coming your way. And Rianne, how about you? What's next?
So I've got 2 years left of my degree. So I've got this year now and then my final year. And after that, then I hope to hopefully do a master's. So do a master's over 2 years in commercial management. And then obviously, whilst doing my master's, get my RACS chartership. So I've got 2 years then doing that. So future plans.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think that's a perfect sort of note to end on. It's been a wonderful event listening to all of your stories, and I'm really excited about what the future holds for you all. And fingers crossed, I'll be able to come back to you next year, maybe see if we can get a live face-to-face event off the ground, and maybe bring a group of girls and women to have a tour at one of your projects, which I think would be amazing to do. So just want to thank you all for taking part and spending the time out your evening to do this event with us. We will send around slides, we will send around the link as well to our audience at home, and thank you to our audience for joining us tonight. Yeah, so watch this space. We will be coming back with more Not Just for Boys events later this year, so just watch this space, and if anybody has any questions later for our guest speakers and they just want to email us, they can do, and then we can just ask our speakers offline and get back to you. But yeah, thank you everybody, and thank you to Alexia as well for all the behind the scenes help for making this event amazing. And yeah, have a good evening, everybody, and I'll hopefully get to meet you all face to face very soon. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye. Bye.